So in our previous class, we have seen different types of area networks, correct? Local area, wide area, metropolitan area, storage area, personal area, and we have also seen different names for the networks based on the size, right? We have seen enterprise, service provider, we have seen Soho, Robo, data center. We have seen different names for depending on the size of the network. We started giving different names, and after that we have also seen different types of devices that we will be using in a network, right? We have endpoints, we have application servers, we have switches, we have routers, we have firewalls, we have IPS devices. All of them we have seen. Am I right? So now let's try to understand that one. See what happens now. So we have, I think I have some problem in my sketchbook. I'm drawing somewhere, but it's going somewhere. I'm not able to view that properly. Okay. So I have multiple devices, okay? Let's assume that it's going somewhere else. So there was some problem on the application. I just closed the application and started it. Let's assume that we have a switch. We know what is a switch. Switch will provide the connectivity to the endpoints. Using your switch, multiple endpoints could be connected. Let's assume that we have 4 devices connected to the switch, right? If they wanted to talk to each other via the switch, you have the cables with which you got the connectivity also. Because of that, the communication could be possible. Okay, now let's say that the PCs are going to be connected and some communication is going to be happening between all these devices. But anyway, there is a problem, like it is not that always one member is going to be sending the traffic to all of them. It is quite possible that one person would like to send the traffic to one of the member who is connected to the network. I'm not saying that always they will be sending the data to everyone. So as I'm part of the network, when I'm sending the data, I might be saying that this is meant for Karthik, not for all, right? So at times I may also say that it is meant for people whomever is connected online, not physical, right? So I have to be in a way to identify each and every device which is connected to the network, so that I'll be able to direct the call or direct the information to the destined device. Now let's assume that, let's say A, the machine's name is A, B, C and D. If A wanted to communicate with B, A should know the identity of B. Only then I can say this information is meant for system B, not for system C or not for system D. Am I right? So some sort of identification is required. Only then the whole communication could be possible, right? So within the network, everyone is going to be uniquely identified through the help of something called as what? A MAC address. We will see the details of the MAC address later on. But anyway, using the MAC address, each and every device is going to be uniquely identified. Okay. Now the point is, MAC address is 48 bits in length, expressed in hexadecimal format. So MAC address is 48 bits in length. Then the representation of these bits are going to be happening in the form of hexadecimal, little bit complicated. So you will be having hexadecimal values 0 to 9, A to F. That's how the identification of MAC address is going to be happening. But there is one problem with MAC address. Though I'll be able to uniquely identify each and every device through the help of a MAC address, but I will not be able to segment them. For example, if you take any organization, there will be different departments. I'll have HR department, finance department, marketing, production. There will be different departments, right? We wanted them to group together. HR team is a team. They will have their own set of communication. They are not supposed to be talking to finance department. So we wanted to segment that. For example, if all of them are going to be connected and we are not grouping them, we are not segmenting them, if an announcement is being given, that announcement will be sent to everyone, right? With respect to communication within your digital world, there are three types of communication. One is called as unicast, right? The second one is called as multicast. The third one is called as a broadcast. What I mean to say, unicast means the data is meant for one particular device. In that sense, it is called as a unicast. When you say multicast, the given data is meant for a group of people within a network, right? Broadcast, the data is meant for everyone connected to the network. That's how we are identifying or we are classifying the type of communication. Unicast, one to one. Multicast, one to a group. When it comes to broadcast, one to everyone, right? So if a communication is going to be happening, assuming that we have only MAC address, using the MAC address we are going to be communicating, with which we will not be able to group them. Each and every device can be uniquely identified. The same way, each and every person is going to be part of the same group. If a broadcast is being sent from HR department, that broadcast is going to be given to everyone, because broadcast means everyone in my own network. If there is a possibility, what is that? If there is a possibility that these two devices are going to be segmented into one group, network problem. Onilla wireless connection issue. I got disconnected from my wireless connection, and that's why the meeting got stuck. Hope I'm audible. So what I'm planning to do is within my Purilama. Okay. Okay. So what I mean to say that I have a larger network. I wanted to segment into according to my requirement. I might be segmenting that network into 2 or 3 or 4. However I want, I have to do it. If I do that one, then assuming that segment this one, I call this as what? HR. And I call this guy as what? Finance. I like that I can do multiple segments, right? So each and every segment is going to be part of a group. You belong to HR group, you belong to finance group. That's how we have to say that, right? So while you do that one, what happened? Members of the same group could be in a position to communicate with everyone in that group. May not be to the other group, but everyone in that group, the communication could be possible. Got the point, right? So now how do I segment it? Of course, after the introduction of manageable switches, we used to talk about something called as a VLAN. When we are getting into the switches, we'll get into it. But here, logically to segment is, I can start using a different mechanism to identify each and every device along with their group. What I mean to say, using the MAC address, the devices are going to be uniquely identified, but group identification is not there. Whereas, I wanted to identify a mechanism with which the device and its group can be identified. So that's where we came up with something called as what? An IP address. Right? So basically IP address has two different components or two different portions in it. Each and every portion, like the first portion is called as a network ID portion. The second portion is called as what? A host ID portion. Network ID is nothing but my group, whereas host ID, my identity in that group. For example, let's take a case. I hope everyone has an email ID with your Gmail. Probably. You might be having it. For example, my email ID is kvgopi@gmail.com. Okay. No one else in Gmail can have the same ID. So my identity is kvgopi. My group is gmail.com. So in this way, they can uniquely identify. In case of an email address, there are two components. Like in IP address, you have two components. One is network ID, the group. The second one is host ID, your identity. In email address, you have two components in it. One is called as a gmail.com, which is called as a domain. and the KV Gopi is my ID. So KV Gopi is the ID. You can find him in a domain called as gmail.com. That's how we will be identifying the email address. Whichever the case, you talk about address, obviously there will be two components. One, to whom it has to be delivered. Two, where he is located. Right? IP address, you have the host ID is the identity. Network ID, the group you belong to. Same way in email address, you have identity as the user ID, KV Gopi, and the domain name as the group as gmail.com. Okay? Whereas in MAC address, you don't have that option. That's the point I'm trying to make it. So, if I'm going to be establishing the communication only using the MAC address, all of them has to be part of the same group. Segmentation, not possible. Okay? If you wanted to segment, logically they have to be identified. One. The second thing is, if you take network, right? I have multiple devices. I have my own LAN. Okay? I have another LAN. Like this, multiple LANs are there across the globe, and we are connecting all of them together to form internet. What is internet? Network of networks. So we are connecting multiple networks together to have the internet, right? So in this case, what happens if I'm going to be simply having the internet without segmenting? All of them will be having a unique MAC address, right? How do you know that? Say one guy is there, his identity is A, another guy is there, his identity is B, one guy is there, identity is C. The network, the membership over there, I'm trying to communicate with one of the machine in a different segment. Somewhere else someone is there, but I don't have a logical identification of that network or group. Then what will happen? Every member in each and every network, right, should know each and everyone's identity. For any reason, if someone in one network is sending a broadcast, and that will going to be sent to all of the networks on the internet. We don't want that to happen. We wanted to segment this one. That's where the logical groupings comes into picture. Further, what we have done, within the organization, we started segmenting it, right? To do the logical representation, right? To do the logical representation, we take the help of IP address. IP addresses are logical, whereas MAC addresses are physical. Now, again, you might be wondering, how do I compare this? See, while you are buying something online, probably Flipkart or Amazon, while you are buying the product, I hope all of you will be having an experience of buying something over the online, right? So while you are buying something, the portal will be prompting you to specify the PIN code for the shipment. First thing they will check. Once you have entered the PIN code, then they will give you the estimated delivery time. Then they will be asking you to enter your full address. Even while you are giving the full address, you will be prompted to enter the PIN code also. That PIN code will be used by whom? The delivery partner, maybe the courier guy, whomever it is. They will see the PIN code. They don't need to read the whole address. They will see the PIN code. They will understand that it has to be delivered to Chennai, Velachery. Might be from Mumbai, might be from Delhi. Using the PIN code, they can easily recognize it, right? So using that, the courier will be sent to Chennai. Once it reaches the Velachery outlet, they will read the full address. For that, they no need to have the PIN code. The PIN code doesn't have any value. They all need the physical address. Reading the physical address, they know where I reside and they will come and hand over it. So we understand that the logical addresses helps us to identify the location where my destination is connected to. Once I know where my destination is connected, I can also identify the best route to reach the destination. Assume that a product is being delivered from Delhi or delivered from Chennai, Paris to Velachery. How many routes are there? From Chennai to Velachery, how many routes would be there? The Paris corner to Velachery. They can come through Mount Road. They can come through, right? They can also go to Poondamalli, Sriperumbudur, Tambaram and come. They can come, right? So you have a route. But which route is the best route? Whatever it might be. So you can have the option of choosing the best route to reach the destination when you have the logical addresses, right? So logical address helps us to identify the location like a PIN code. Once the data has reached the destination network, the IP address doesn't have any value. You need the physical address. That process is different. I'll teach you that later. Now we know there is something called as MAC address. There is something called as IP address. right? IP address helps us to group the set of devices to form the network, right? And also it helps us to identify where the destination device is connected. Is it in my network or in a remote network? If it is in a remote network, what are all the possible routes? Which is the best route? That kind of a path selection process could be possible through the help of IP address. ఏదాది క్వశ్చన్స్ இருக்காமா யாருக்காவது? గోపి ఉన్నారా? అర్థమవుతుందా? ஓகே. கார்த்திக், ஹரி, புரியுதுங்களா? ரைட், ஓகே, சரி, ஓகே, மியூட் போட்டுக்கோங்கம்மா. ரைட். நான் திஸ் ஐபி அட்ரஸ் அதே மாதிரி இருக்காது, ரைட்டா? போன கிளாஸில் எடுத்த மாதிரியே இந்த கிளாஸ் இருக்குன்னு நீங்கள் எதிர்பார்க்கக்கூடாது. ஐபி அட்ரஸ் ஐ ஸ்டார்டட் ஆல்ரெடி ஃபார் தெம், பட் டோன்ட் எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் த சேம் வேர்ட், சேம் சென்டென்ஸ், சேம் எக்ஸாம்பிள்ஸ் வுட் பி தேர். ஆல்வேஸ் டிபெண்டிங் ஆன் த மூட், the examples, the way the classes are happening could also be varying. Okay, நீங்கள் உங்கள் காலேஜில் கூட பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அதே ப்ரொஃபஸர் அதே டாப்பிக்கை ஒரே மாதிரி எடுக்கணுன்ற அவசியம் இல்லை. வருஷம் அதே மாதிரி எடுப்பாராண்ணா? ரைட். ஒரே வருஷத்தில் மல்டிபிள் பேட்சஸ் எடுத்தால் அந்த பேட்சஸ்க்கும் அது வேரியேஷன் ஆகும். ஒரு பேட்ச்லையும் ஒரு மாதிரி எடுப்பாங்க, வாய்ப்புகள் இருக்கு இல்லையா? த சேம் திங் இஸ் வாட் யூ ஹாவ் டு எக்ஸ்பெக்ட். நவ் த பாயிண்ட் இஸ் வி நோ ஐபி அட்ரஸ். ஓகே, லைக் MAC address, we say that 48 bits are there expressed in hexadecimal format. In IP address, we are talking about IPv4 address. Anyway, why IPv6 came, that and all we will discuss later. IP address is 32 bits in length, right? Expressed in binary format. So remembering a binary address, right? So of course we also know in IP address two components are there, network ID and host ID. But my point is, remembering the binary number will be very difficult because the binaries are going to be zeros and ones. If I have 10 machines within my network, right, they're all going to be identified as binary addresses. How do you remember 32 bit of binary number? Will be very difficult for us to remember. So we have to find a way to simplify this addressing schemes. Human readable, human rememberable format, right? Anyway, the devices will remember only its binary format. Okay, for our convenience we wanted to have a simplified format. We thought of converting these binaries into decimal. If I convert these values into decimal, probably it might look simple. I could also remember, like remembering the phone numbers, you could also remember the IP addresses in numerical format. For example, I'll show you. I'll go to the command prompt, check it out, see. If I'm going to be pinging something like ping 22334455, just for an example I'm giving it, this is a numerical value. This numerical value is going to be converted into an IP address. Can you see that? What is the IP address it got converted into? 1.84.
Sir, my screen share ஆகுது.
ஷேர் ஆயிருக்கா இப்போ? Okay. Right, so I started explaining you something. I'm just trying to ping. See here, ping 22334455. Just a random number, I just picked it. This number is going to be converted into a binary value, but we don't know what is that binary value. But that IP address got converted into some format. We don't know what this format is. It is something like 1.84.203.247. Something is coming up, right? So my point is, I can convert the binary values into decimal value, then I can identify each and every machine using the decimal value. Quite possible. But if I'm going to be using the decimal value, I have 32 bits. Okay, if I have 32 bits, then what would be the maximum value? So then it is going to be what? 2 to the power of 32. When I say 2 to the power of 32, that many hosts could be, that many IP addresses could be possible. Then remembering that value is also complicated for me. So somehow I have to simplify this IP addresses for me, for myself. So what we have done is there is a way that to simplify it? Yes. Why don't we slice this 32 bits into 4 equivalent components or 4 equivalent parts, right? So I have 32 bits. 32 bit is being divided in by 4. So each and every part will have 8 bits into it. Normally 8 means octa or octal, right? So each and every portion or each and every part in an IP address is going to be considered as an octet. Octet means 8. So 8 bits are there in a place and we are calling it as an octet. Okay. Now what I'm saying that I have 4 parts. In every part I'm going to be having 8 bits. Instead of converting that whole 32 bit value into decimal, I wanted to convert this 8 bits into decimal. So the values will be very limited. Okay. Now if I have 8 bits, what would be the maximum value? So 2 to the power of 8 is going to be maximum values possible is 256. So in every octet, when I convert the octet to decimal, maximum of 8 bits will be converted to decimal. So the maximum value possible is only 256. It's not like 22, 33, 44, 55. Not like that. It's not a huge value. It's a friendly value. I could remember. But there is a problem. When I say 8 bits, I have 2 to the power of 8. 256 is the maximum combination. Means that's the maximum number of possible values. But it starts from 0. Now, let's try to understand something. See here. How I got that 256 and what are all the values in decimal? The range of decimal values in each and every octet. How do you find it? Typically, if you can convert the first binary combination to decimal and last binary combination to decimal, then you can find the range of values in it. We said that 2 to the power of 8 means maximum 256 combinations could come. In that 256 combinations, if I convert the first and last to decimal, anything comes in between is going to be part of it. When I say 0 to 100, what do you mean by that? Whatever the values comes in between 0 and 100 is part of this range, right? I'm trying to find the range of possible decimal values in each and every octet. So to do that one, I need to find the first combination and last combination, right? What would be the first combinations in binary? Let's say if I have 2 bits, okay? If I have 2 bits, I have to work with zeros and ones. What will be the first combination? 0, 0. The second combination will be 0, 1. The third combination will be 1, 0. And the fourth combination is 1, 1. Do I have any other possible combinations? No. So now I am just considering that I have 3 bits now. Okay? If I have 3 bits, what will be the first combination? 0, 0, 0. 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Now we understand that when you are going for the binary combination, the first combination will be always zeros and the last combination will be always ones. So what I'm trying to do is when I have 8 bits, I'm applying the same logic on it. If I convert all zeros into decimal and all ones into decimal, I can find the range of decimal values per octet, right? So to do that one, what I'm trying to do is 8 bits are there, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bits are there, 8 zeros, the first combination. The last combination is going to be 1, 1, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ones are there. Now convert this one into decimal. How do you convert it? Now if you can convert, means you can easily convert this one. Basically what we are trying to do is, I'm just comparing this one with a different value altogether. For example, let's say as decimal value is given. Okay, a decimal value is given. I think this example I have given for the other participants, but here I'm probably a different value. But since we have 2 more new guys, I'm just taking a different example altogether. Say 493. When I say a decimal value 493, I'm trying to ask you how many hundreds are there in this given value. We claim that we have 4 hundreds. How many tens are there? 9 tens are there. How many ones are there? 3 ones are there. But how do we got that there are 4 hundreds? Because this is decimal. Decimals means base 10. right? So every position in the numerical value, every position has something called as a place value. Because it is base 10, it starts from 10 to the power of 0, because 10 possible values are there, right? The first position is 0, so 10 to the power of 0. The second position is going to be 10 to the power of 1. The third position is going to be 10 to the power of 2. See, 0, 1, 2. So according to the rule, anything to the power of 0 is 1. Anything multiplied by 0 is 0. But here, to the power of 0, anything to the power of 0 is considered as 1. Now what happens now? Let's see, 10 to the power of 0 is going to be considered as what? So 10 to the power of 0, the place value is 1. The second place, 10 to the power of 1, the place value is 10. 10 to the power of 2, the place value is 100. Got it? Now, to get the details, whatever the given value will be multiplied by the place value. So 4 into 100, we got 400. 9 into 10, we got 90. 3 into 1, we got 3. This is how 493 we got. Now here we are working with binary to decimal. So every place will have its own place value. Because it is binary, it is going to be base 2 instead of base 10. In decimal it is base 10. Here it is going to be base 2. So here 2 to the power of 0, 2 to the power of 1, that's how it will come. Let's say the first position will be what? 2 to the power of 0. The second position will be 2 to the power of 1. The third position will be 2 to the power of 2. Right? You understand? This is how. This is the logic. 2 to the power of 4, 2 to the power of 5, 2 to the power of 6, and 2 to the power of 7, then 2 to the power of 8. Now, if you do that one, 2 to the power of 0, just now we had the discussion, anything to the power of 0 is 1. If you apply that logic, see that, let me take a different color, I'll explain you here. Now, anything to the power of 0 is 1, 2 to the power of 1 is 2, 2 to the power of 2 is 4, 2 to the power of 4 is 8, 2 to the power of 5 is 16, 32, 64, then 128. Right? While we were working with this decimal values, we said that whatever the value in that position will be multiplied with the place value. Now in this case, 0 into 128 will be what? 0. 0 into 64 will be what? 0. So 128 plus 64, 0 to the power of 120, 0 into 128, 0 into 64, the result is 0, 0 plus 0, 0. Right? So the result is going to be 0. Okay? Now here in this case, what happened? 1 into 128. The same is going to be applicable here. To the place value is 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. Now 1 multiplied by 128, 128. 1 multiplied by 64, 64. 1 multiplied by 32, 32. Basically what we are trying to do is, we are adding all the place values where the bit is true bit. If the bit is false bit, you don't need to add it. If the bit is true, then add the place values together. If you add all of them together, like 128 plus 64 is 192, plus 32 is 224, plus 16 for 240, 248, 252, 254 and 255. So if you see all ones in an octet, the value is equivalent to 255. The first value is 0, the last value in decimal is 255. Put together, we have 256 values. If you start from 1, it will be 255. Because we are starting from 0, it will be 256. So 2 to the power of 8 is going to be what? 256. The possible values ranges starts from 0, ends with 255. Is that clear? So in every octet, when you convert them to decimal, you can have maximum of 256 values, 256 combination. So the values can be ranging from 0 to 255. That clear, right? இது வரைக்கும் புரிஞ்சுதாமா? ஏதாவது கன்ஃபியூஷன்ஸ் இருக்கா? గోపి ఉన్నారా?
హాయ్ సార్.
ఓకే. ఏదైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉందా?
లేదు సార్, ఇది అర్థమైంది.
కార్తిక్ இருக்கீங்களா?
சார்
புரியுதா?
சார் எஸ் சார்,
ஓ புரியுதான்னு கேட்டேன்.
புரியுது சார்.
சரி, ஓகே, ரைட். ஸோ mute, thank you. So we know that we have IP address which is of 32 bits in length, right, expressed in binary. For our convenience we have converted this into 4 octet, right? In every octet the value can range between 0 to 255, correct? So let's assume that I'm just going to be giving you an example. The first octet value is going to be 123. Okay, the first octet value is 123. The second octet value is 22. The third octet value is 1. The fourth octet value is 171. Okay, this is the values. One combination, one 32-bit combination, I sliced into 4. I'm converting that 8 bits into decimal. All 4 octets, octet by octet, decimal conversion is going on. So after converting, I got the values like first octet value as 123, second octet value as 22, third octet value as 1, and fourth octet value as 171. Right? I'm just giving this value to someone. This is my IP address 123.221.171. If I'm giving this one to someone, they could misinterpret this like 123 is the first octet value. How do you know? It could be considered as 12 also. Quite possible. Or it could be considered as 1. The second octet value they could have interpreted as 232 instead of 22. The third octet value instead of, they can say that 211. Fourth octet value can be 7. They could interpret like this. Quite possible, right? So we need to have a clear identification of each and every octet values. This is first octet value, this is second octet, this is third octet. We need to have a differentiation. That differentiation we have done through the help of something called as what? A dot. So 123.22.1.171. Now what happens? The first dot says that this value is the first octet value. Between the first dot and second dot confirms that this is the second octet value. No misinterpretation. It is clearly understood, right? Between the second dot and third octet, whatever the value comes in, that is my third octet value. The remaining is my fourth octet value. So IP address is 32 bits in length, expressed in binary. For our convenience, we are slicing the 32-bit binary into 4 equivalent parts. Each and every part is considered as an octet, called as an octet. And every octet can have a possible decimal values between 0 and 255. To differentiate each and every octet value, we are taking the help of a dot. So we are calling this system as dotted decimal system. Got the point? So the IP address has been converted into dotted decimal system. Okay. Now we have seen that in an IP address we have two portions are there. One portion says network ID, the second portion says host ID. Network ID is the group I belong to, whereas host ID, my identity within that network or within that group, right? Now out of 32 bits, we know 32 bits are there. How many bits belongs to network ID? How many bits belongs to host ID? That becomes the question, right? So depending on the number of bits in network ID, I will get those many networks. Depending on number of bits in host ID, I will get those many hosts, the endpoints. Okay. Now how do we differentiate it? See, depending on, we have seen various types of networks, right? Service provider, data center, enterprise, small to medium business, remote office, branch office, small office, home office. In each and every type of network, we are going to be having some endpoints connected. How many endpoints would be there? That is depending on the size of the network. Enterprise, we will have large number of networks, large number of endpoints. Small network, few clients. Think about your home. You might be having couple of machines connected to your wireless router, right? You cannot expect the same in companies. When you're working for a company, they might have more number of employees. Based on the size of the company, the number of devices and the number of endpoints would vary, right? So it should accommodate, the network ID and host ID should be reasonable for accommodating the number of devices that you have in your organization. So those many host IDs, those many endpoints should be there. Okay. Now, the size of the networks are different. Certain networks could be different. Certain networks could be larger. Certain networks could be very small one. So we have to have a reservation, or we have to have a mechanism to accommodate larger number of hosts or smaller number of hosts. We should have that mechanism in place. So what they have done is, in IP addresses, they have done the classification as what? Class A, Class B and Class C. So they did the classification. So what the classification and what it is meant for? Class A networks or IP addresses are meant for larger networks where we are expecting more number of endpoints being connected. Larger networks like Intel Corporation, Microsoft, Apple, big companies, where more number of endpoints will be there. Class B, medium sized network, whereas Class C is for small networks. So Class A is meant for what? Larger networks where we have more number of endpoints, whereas Class B, we are calling it as medium sized network. Class C is considered as small networks. Is that clear? Now, if it is Class A, the reservation is done like what? You have network ID and host ID. Okay? Network ID and host ID. In Class A, if it is a Class A network, out of 32 bits, 8 bits reserved for the network ID and 24 bits reserved for the host ID. If it is Class B, we have 16 bits reserved for the network ID and 16 bits reserved for the host ID. If it is Class C, 24 bits reserved for the network ID and 8 bits reserved for the host ID. Right? Now you can understand, you can easily see the differences. Right? When I said 32 bits or 8 bits or 4 bits, whatever it is, how many combinations are possible, those many IP addresses you can get it. That's the logic behind it. Say when I said 8 bits, I can get 2 to the power of 8 number of combination. If I have 16 bits, 2 to the power of 16 number of combinations could be possible. So each and every combination is going to be equivalent to network ID or host ID. If I have 8 bits in network ID, I will have 2 to the power of 8 number of networks. Correct or not? So because every combination is a network. Same way, if I have host ID bits as 24, in these many networks, in every network, you will have 2 to the power of 24 number of endpoints connected. Those many IP addresses could be possible. See, in a group, I'm going to be having so much of endpoints. What is your group number? I have 2 to the power of 8. In each and every group, you will have 2 to the power of 24 number of host IDs. That's the logic that you need to understand. Same way in Class B, you will have 2 to the power of 16 number of networks. In each and every network, you will have 2 to the power of 16 number of host IDs. In Class C, you will have 2 to the power of 24 number of networks. Here, 2 to the power of 8 number of host IDs. Right. You can compare this one with anything. If you take Chennai, Coimbatore and Kanchipuram, if you see that one, and if you're planning to make a call, you take a telephone number, the landline telephone number, you will have a clear differentiation. For Chennai, the identification code is 44, whereas the endpoints will have 8 digits of phone, like 22431234. So 8 digits are there for the endpoint, the subscriber number, whereas 2 digits are for Chennai's identification. If you go to Coimbatore, the location is getting identified by 3 numbers. Automatically, you will have only 7 digits for endpoint. Whereas Kanchipuram, if you take 4112, 4 digits are there to identify the city. So I have 6 digits to the endpoint. So if you have more number of digits in the network ID, you will get more number of networks. If you have more number of digits in the host ID, you will get more number of hosts. So depending on the size, for example, if you take class A network, I have only 2 to the power of 8 number of class A networks. That's all. Beyond that, I cannot create the networks. So those many larger networks are possible across the globe. Same way class B, 2 to the power of 16 number of medium sized networks are possible across the globe. Same way 2 to the power of 24 number of small networks possible. Why they have reserved 24 bits for the small networks? If you take the statistics, smaller networks are compared to more larger than, means the smaller networks will be more than medium and larger. Same way if you take the medium networks, obviously they will be lesser than small networks but more than large networks. If you take the larger networks, they will be very limited. Take the metropolitan cities in India, we have limited. So if I reserve 2 digits, I can identify 100 cities. So metropolitan city, we will be having more of population, there will be more of requests for the landlines. So I have 8 digits to identify each and every phone. If you go to Coimbatore, Coimbatore is a city. I'm not denying it, but population is not going to be as compared as Chennai, right? But cities like Coimbatore will be more than cities like Chennai. So I need more number of digits to identify the cities like Coimbatore, where the subscribers are going to be limited. So I can go ahead and say, okay, 7 digits enough for the subscriber identification. If you go to Kanchipuram, size of Kanchipuram, so the cities like Kanchipuram will be more, but subscribers in cities like Kanchipuram will be lesser. So which is more than enough, 6 digits to identify the subscriber. So the same logic is what being applied to class A, B and C. Class A is meant for large network, class B is for the medium sized network, and class C is meant for small networks. Okay. Now the point is, if the given IP address belongs to class A, you can say that 8 bits network ID, 8 bits host ID. You can say that. If the given IP address belongs to class B, then you know that 16 bits meant for network ID and 16 bits meant for host ID. Same way for class C, if the given IP address belongs to class C, then you can say that 24 bits meant for network ID and 8 bits meant for host ID. You should know that one, right? But how do you know the given IP address is A, B or C? Right? To identify the class, there is a rule got introduced which is called as first octet rule. Right? What is that first octet? We already know what is octet. We have 4 equivalent parts. The IP address has been divided into 4 equivalent parts, and every part has 8 bits into it, and we are calling that as what? An octet. Correct? So we also count from left to right, not from right to left. Which one is going to be considered as the first octet? This or this? Obviously the leftmost one. This is my first octet, this is my second octet, the third octet and fourth octet. The point is, the first octet rule, when I say first octet rule, the rule is going to be looking into only the first octet, not second, third or fourth. Whatever the values in second octet, third or fourth octet, it doesn't matter for me. I will look into only the first octet to identify the given IP address belongs to class A, B or C. Okay. What it says is, for class A, I'll put like this. This is class A, okay? I'm just doing it for class A. Okay. I'll explain you what I'm trying to do. Now, the first octet rule says that look into your first octet, identify where you see you have 8 bits, in which of the first bit, in which of the bit in your first octet you see the first 0. The first octet rule says what? Try to identify the first occurrence of 0 on your first octet. If you see the first bit itself is 0 on your first octet, If you see the first bit is 0, then it belongs to class A. Right? If the first bit is not 0, let's go back to the previous one. Let's assume like this. 6, 7. Let's go back to the other one. Right. Now, what the first octet rule says, if you see the first 0 in first bit of first octet, then it is class A. If the first bit is not 0, then it is not class A. It may be class B or class C. Then if the first bit is not 0, then what is the possible value over there? 1. 1 is the maximum, 1 is the next possible value. If there is no 0, then it will be 1. Then it is highly possible that you can see the first 0 in your second bit of first octet. Then it is class B. Right? For all class A networks, the first bit will be 0. For all class B networks, the first bit will be 1 and the second bit will be 0. For all class C network, and you can presume, right? You can see the first 0 on the third bit of your first octet. Then the first 2 bits will be 1 and 1. Got the point, right? And this is the reservation. For class A networks, we are reserving the first bit as 0. Right? The same way, here I'm just taking 0 here. Now I'm trying to explain something here. Let's see. Now I wanted to see what are all the possible decimal ranges of class A networks in first octet. How do we find the ranges? We have to find the all zeros and all ones combination. If you find the first combination to decimal, convert the first combination to decimal, you will get the first value. Convert the last combination to decimal and you will get the value. That's what I'm going to be doing it. But keeping in mind, the first bit has to be 0 for all class A networks. So I'm keeping the first bit 0, making the rest of the bits as 0. Convert this one into decimal, you will get 0. Now, what is the last value? All ones. But first bit has to be 0. Now what I'm doing here? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. The first bit is 0. Convert this into decimal and let me know what is the value. How do you convert? I just explained you. Whatever the bit is true bit, right? Whatever the bit is true bit, what you have to do is add the place values together. That's it, right? Now what is the place value here? This is going to be 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2 and 1. Now except 128, because 128 bit alone is false bit, add the true bits place values, you will get 127. You have to convert it. Now the next work is for you guys. I think Hari, you have done this one. I'm not sure about Karthik. Karthik, you did this?
Sir.
இது நீங்கள் பண்ணியிருக்கீங்களா ஏற்கனவே? சரி, அப்போ நீங்கள் 2 பேரும் சைலன்ஸ் மெயின்டைன் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. லெட் கோபி அண்ட் சதீஷ் டூ ஃபைண்ட் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆக்டட் ரேஞ்ச் ஃபார் கிளாஸ் பி அண்ட் கிளாஸ் சி. Now I have explained you how to find the first octet decimal values for class A. Now you have to find out the first octet decimal ranges for class B and class C. Okay? Gopi?
Hello.
So you have to find the value.
Will minus 64 remaining are added.
You have to find and send me the screenshot. Do it on the paper.
Okay. 1 minute.
Yeah.
Little paper.
Yeah. You have to have it, na? You are attending the class, no?
Hello.
Present I'm in office, sir.
Huh?
Present I'm in office, sir. So I don't get any book.
Oh, you are at office, Okay, okay.
Uh,
No problem, no problem. Satish is doing it. Once he is done, we will continue. Okay?
okay.
Okay, now let's try to do the same thing. For class B, we are trying to find the range of class B networks, okay? Class B first octet values. 7. So the first 2 bits has to be 1 and 0. That's a mandatory requirement. We are talking only from the first octet's perspective. Now, keeping the first 2 bits as 1 and 0, we have 6 bits remaining. What are all the possible combinations over there? The first combination is going to be all 0, correct? And here it is going to be all 1. The result is going to be what? 128. Sorry, here it will be 128. Here it will be 191. The same way, you have to find the class C in the binary format, okay? For a certain period of time, please work with the binary, then you will be very comfortable. 5, 6, 7. So we know that the first 3 bits has to be 110. This is the reservation, right? The first combination within that 5 bits can be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Same way, the last combination on the first octet for the class C, it will be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Now, if you convert this into decimal, what will be the value? 192. Here it is going to be 223. See, 0 to 127. Then we are starting up with 128, ends with 191. Class B, now it starts with 192, ends with 223. Now, we got the result for 0 to 223. Am I right? But the possible values in each and every octet can be between 0 and 255. But we got the result only till 223. Okay. Now, class A, just now we had the discussion. The first octet value can be ranging between 0 to 127. For class B, the first octet value can be ranging from 128 to 191. For class C, we got it between 192 to 223. This is the result, right? What happened to the rest of the values? That's where we got class D and class E. The rule is still applicable, okay? The first 4 bits has to be 1110. For the class C, it has to be 11110. That logic applies. But here, if you see that one, it is going to be 224 through 239. Okay, class C, rest of them greater than or equal to 240. Means 240 to 255. That's how we have it. Okay. Now the point is, we have class A, class B, class C. We also have class D and class E. Class D and class E cannot be used for assigning an IP address for the device. They have some special reservations. Class D is reserved for multicasting. We know what is multicast, right? So unicast 1 to 1, multicast 1 to a group, whereas broadcast 1 to all. So class D, entire class D has been reserved for the multicast communication. You might be wondering, do we have to reserve one whole class, like almost like 16 networks reserved for, means you have around 224 to 239 in your first octet, right? In your first octet, you have 224 to 239. Do we need those many networks for multicasting? Yes, there is a need for it. Same way, 240 and above is going to be considered as what? Not broadcast. It has been reserved for the research purposes. Got the point, right? Now, A, B, C, D. So, if you wanted to configure any of the IP addresses to any of the devices, it can be in A, B or C. Not in D, not in E. Okay, so first octet rule says this one. Now we know class A means 8 bits network ID, 24 bits host ID. What is class A? What is class B? What is class C? What is the range of class A? What is the range of class B? What is the range of class C? We have seen this one. Now we are getting into one more thing. Class A, B and C. Number of network ID bits 8, 16 and 24. Am I right? Number of network ID bits. For class A 8 bits, for class B 16 bits, for class C 24 bits. For class identification, you have it, right? To identify the class, for class A we reserved 1 bit, For class B, we reserve 2 bits. For class C, we reserve 3 bits. That means you cannot play around with that bits. If it is class A, always the first bit of your first octet has to be 1. Sorry, has to be 0. If it is class B, the first 2 bits has to be 1, 0. If it is class C, it has to be, the first 3 bits has to be 1, 1, 0. You cannot play with that. Okay. Now this leads to usable network ID bits. Means you can play with them is 8 minus 1, you have 7. Whereas in class B, we have 14. For class C, we have 21. We have network ID bits 8. How many bits you can play? 7 only, because 1 bit you cannot touch. That has to be 0. If you apply the same logic for class B, you have 16 bits, but you don't have control on first 2 bits. So you have only 14 bits where you can play with. When it comes to class C, you have 24 bits, but 3 bits reserved for the class identification. So you can play only with 21 bits. This leads to number of class A networks, number of networks. Earlier we said for class A 2 to the power of 8, correct? Now it is going to be 2 to the power of 7, not 8. Because 1 bit you cannot play. The same logic is getting applied for class B, which is 2 to the power of 14. For class C, we have 2 to the power of 21. Is this clear till this point? Make a note of it because we are going to be still changing it. Number of host ID bits for class A it is 24. For class B it is 16. For class C it is 8. There is no change in it. Number of host IDs, two to the power of 24 number of host in class A networks, 2 to the power of 16 number of host per class B network, 2 to the power of 8 number of host per class C network, right? Even that also going to be changed, right? I'm just going to be removing this. You want to make a note of it, you take a note of it. If not, I'll erase it. So according to current discussion, this is the result. This is what we understood. Class A 8 bits, 1 bit reserved for class identification. We have only 7 bits to play with. So 2 to the power of 7 number of networks, class A networks are possible. For class B, 16 bits by default reserved for the network ID, but we have reserved 2 bits for the class identification. So we have 14 bits. So 2 to the power of 14 number of networks, class B networks. Same way class C, though we have 24 bits, 3 bits reserved for the class C identification. So we can have maximum of 2 to the power of 21 number of class C networks. Till this point is clear? Okay. All this we understood because of the first octet rule. Now, the first octet or exceptional rule. Right? The exceptional rule or exception rule, what it says, the first combination will be what? Always 0, right? All zeros. And the last combination will be always 1, right? They cannot be used. The first octet exception rule says, or exception rule says, in any portion of your IP address, right, all zeros and all ones cannot be used. This leads to what? How many class A networks are possible? 2 to the power of 7 minus 2. Why this minus 2? Because we have to remove all 0 and all 1. Number of hosts, 2 to the power of 24 minus 2. Because I said that the exceptional rule says, in every portion of your IP address, all zeros and all ones cannot be used or cannot be used for configuring it on a PC or a device. So that leads to 2 to the power of 7 minus 2 in networks, class A, 2 to the power of 24 minus 2 on host IDs. The same logic applies for class B and class C. So what will be the class B networks? Number of class B networks, 2 to the power of 14 minus 2, 2 to the power of 16 minus 2 number of hosts per network. In class C, 2 to the power of 21 minus 2 and 2 to the power of 8 minus 2. Understand what is that minus 2 is all about, okay? Now, if I go for this exceptional rule, what I am trying to do is in class A, Yes.
Class A, Class B, Class 3 வந்து நம்ம ஒரு ஃபிக்ஸ்டு இது வந்து 0, Class B 10, Class C 110. அப்போ டிஇக்கு வந்து ஈக்கு வந்து 4 1 0 வருமா வெறும் 4 1
4 1 0 வருமா? ஆக்சுவலாக 4 1 மட்டும் தான் நீங்கள் கன்சிடர் பண்ணணும். அதனால தான் நான் சொல்லும்போது கிரேட்டர் தேன் ஆர் ஈக்குவல் டு 240 போட்டிருப்பேன். பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தெரியும். The first 4 bits are 1, it is class D. Okay, va? Right. Now, now we are trying to apply something here. What is that? Let's see. We know that for class A, the first bit, we are working for the network ID, okay? Working for the network ID, the first bit has to be 0 on both the sides, means the first and last range we are trying to identify. Right? So what will be the first combination? 0 0 0 0 0 0. If I put 0, then it becomes invalid because of the exceptional rule, so it has to be 1. Last combination, on the usable portion, it has to be 1 1 1 1 1, and the last bit cannot be 1, then it will become invalid because of the exceptional rule. So this is going to be 0. Now convert this to decimal. This is going to be 1. The last one is going to be 126. So for class A, usable range of first octet value is between 1 and 126. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right. Now what they have done is 0 has been taken out from class A, 127 also has been taken out from class A networks. Am I right? According to this exceptional rule, on class A network, 0 has been taken out, 127 also taken out. After applying that, all zeros and all ones in network ID portion, because we have only 8 bits in class A. After apply this one, 0 has been taken out, 127 also has been taken out. Now, 0 network is reserved for something called any. I'll explain this one later. 127 has been reserved for something called loopback. I'll explain this also later. So, the networks which has been taken out because of the exceptional rule has been reserved for some specific purpose. Okay? Now, if I go for class B, apply the same logic, what will be the first octet usable values for class B and class C? Will there be any difference in first octet values for class B and class C after you apply the exceptional rule? How it come? See, can you please do that? But keep in mind, for class B, you have 2 octet, correct? 16 bits reserved for the network ID. So, the exceptional rule says all zeros and all ones in every portion, not in every octet. All zeros and all ones in every portion. How many portions we have? 2. Network ID and host ID. In class B, all zeros and all ones is become invalid. But in network ID portion. So, in the network ID, we have 16 bits. Let's do that one. 6, 7. Okay. Now, according to the first octet, means according to the class identification, the first 2 bits has to be 0, 1 and 0, correct? For class B, the first 2 bits has to be 1 0, the same way 1 0 for the last range. What is the first combination? Zeros, right? Go for 0 0 0 0 0. Do I have to put 1 here? No, because 16 bits are there on the network ID portion. What is that first octet exceptional rule says? Keep in mind, the exceptional rule says all zeros and all ones in every portion is invalid, not in every octet. For class B, how many bits are there? 16 bits are there for the network ID. When I'm trying to find the first range, it will go till here. This conversion is for our convenience, okay? Now here it will be 1. So, புரியல புரியலம்மா, கேக்குது ஆனால் புரியல. என்ன சொல்றாரு? ஓ, நான் எழுதியிருக்கிறது தெரியலையா? சரி சரி சரி, ஓகே. மேபி உங்கள் சைடில் நெட்டு ஸ்லோவாக இருக்கலாம், இல்லை என் சைடில் நெட்டு ஸ்லோவாக இருக்கலாம். பீக்காக வரல. இப்போ தெரியுது இல்லையா? ஸோ while you are working, you have to work the whole portion, not octet by octet. Then you might be asking the question, then why you completed your work only on first octet of your class A? Na, we have only 8 bits in the network ID portion. Whereas in class B, since we have 16 bits, you have to consider the whole 16 bits while you are working. Right? So 128.1 is valid first class B network. 128.0 is invalid, I agree. But the first octet value still 128 is a valid range. Same way if you apply here 11111, last bit as 0, you will get 191.254 as the last class B network. 191.255 will be invalid, right? But 191.254 is valid. Apply the same logic for class C. So 192.0.0 is invalid, whereas 192.0.1 is valid. So on your first octet, still the valid range starts with 192, ends with 223. This is the logic that you need to understand. You understand what I'm saying? Now, ஆமாம், 3 ஆக்டெட்டில் தான் நமக்கு நெட்வொர்க் ஐடி இருக்குது. ஸோ தட்ஸ் ஹவ் இட் கம்ஸ். ஸோ கிளாஸ் சி, the first valid network range is what? 192.0.1 is the first valid network. The last valid network will be 223.255.254. Just do the same way. Just do the bitwise calculation as the same way I have explained for class B. You will get the same result. Now there is a change, correct? What is the change? For class A, the first the range of possible decimal values, earlier it was 0 to 127. I asked you to keep a note of it. You remember? One set of document. Number of bits 8. Class ID reservation is 1. Number of networks is 2 to the power of 7. You remember that? The previous screen I asked you to keep a note of it. That's the one. So basically what happens here, on network ID portion we worked it, on the host ID portion we have to work now, right? So if it is a host ID portion, there is only one thing. On the host ID portion, if you put all zeros, that is equivalent to the network you belong to. On the host ID portion, if you put ones, right, the number of bits can be 24, can be 20, or can be 16, or can be 8, it doesn't matter. On your host ID portion, if you put 0, you will get the group that you belong to. You will get the network that you belong to. If you keep the host IDs 1, then that will be broadcast ID. Okay, broadcast means what? We know already. Broadcast means one to all. So if I have to send a packet to everyone in a network, then I will be sending the traffic to the broadcast ID. I'll give you a couple of examples and then I will close the session. Let's take 10.1.12.133. Okay, this is the IP address given to you. Now which class it belongs to? It is falling between 1 and 126. Okay, if not, hello, தெரியுதா? நான் எழுதியிருக்கிறது தெரியுதாம்மா? Okay. Now, if you want to find which class it belongs to, convert this decimal into binary, it will be so simple for you. So first octet value 7. 10's equivalent binary value will be what? 1 0 1 0. See here, 1 2 4 8. So 1 into 8 8, 1 into 2 2 10. So the remaining values are going to be 0. Okay. Now you see the first bit itself is 0, then it belongs to A, B or C. Which class it belongs to? If you see the first bit 0 on your first octet, which class it belongs to? Class A. If it belongs to class A, the first 8 bits belongs to network ID. The remaining 24 bits belongs to host ID. Now to find the given to find the network ID of given IP address, on your host ID bits you keep zeros, right? Now what is the network the given IP address belongs to is 10.0.0.0. Is that clear? What will be the first host ID? Which one? First host ID. First host ID. On the host ID portion, you will go for all zeros and put 1. Convert that into decimal, you will get it 10.0.0.1. How do you find the last host ID? No, see, the last host ID you have to find this way. Let's say that. So the first octet value has to be 10. We don't have a choice because that is the network ID portion. You cannot change it. On the host ID portion, you will go for the last combination. The last combination is nothing but all ones, correct? So on the host ID portion, it is going to be 1 1 1 1 1. 24 bits are there, right? So the whole this whole 24 bits is host ID. So I'm working with the last host ID. You just need to go for the last combinations in it. The last combination will be last bit 0. If I put last bit 1, I will get broadcast. Here I have to keep 0 on the last bit. Now convert this into decimal. It will be 10 dot all ones, 8 ones, it is 255. Third octet value is also 255. Fourth octet value, you convert this into decimal, you will get 254. And the broadcast ID will be 10 dot 255 dot 255 dot 255. So this is the given IP address for me. It belongs to class A. So 8 bits reserved for the network ID. I kept all the host ID bits to 0 to get my network, to get my group. And this is the first host ID of this network. This is the last host ID of this network. And this is the broadcast ID of this network. Got the clarity? Right. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm going to be giving you couple of IP addresses. Okay? I'll be giving, shall I erase the whiteboard? Okay, if you want to make a note of it, just make a note of it, then I'll give you a couple of sums. Right? எனக்கு ரொம்ப உள்ள கேட்குதுமா எனக்கு நீங்கள் பேசுறது நான் கேட்கவே இல்லைன்னு ரொம்ப டிஸ்டர்பன்ஸு ரொம்ப உள்ள கேட்குது
நெட்வொர்க் ஐடி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அண்ட் லாஸ்ட் காம்பினேஷன் யூஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க சார். அதே மாதிரி ஹோஸ்ட் ஐடி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அண்ட் லாஸ்ட் காம்பினேஷன் யூஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க.
நெட்வொர்க்குன்றது மாறாதுமா, உங்களுக்குன்னு கொடுத்துருக்கிற நெட்வொர்க் தான், சரியா? இப்போ 10 நெட்வொர்க் உங்களுக்கு வந்திருக்குன்னா 10 நெட்வொர்க் தான். அந்த 10 நெட்வொர்க்கில் எது ஃபஸ்ட்டு, எது லாஸ்ட்டு, எது ப்ராட்காஸ்ட்டுன்னு கண்டுபிடிக்கிறோம். ஓகேவா? ஹலோ,
அந்த 10 இடத்துல 0 அந்த 1 அதெல்லாம் இருக்கும்.
அது நான் கிளாஸ் கண்டுபிடிக்கிறதுக்காக போட்டோமா. 10ன்ற வேல்யூவை என்ன பண்ணியிருக்கேன், பைனரியாக மாற்றினேன். புரியுதா? இந்த 10ன்ற வேல்யூவை பைனரியாக மாற்றினதுக்கப்புறம் தான் எனக்கு அது கிளாஸ் ஏவா பியா சியான்னு நான் தெரிஞ்சுக்க பார்க்குறேன். ஏன்னா ஃபஸ்ட்டு பிட்டே 0வாக இருக்கிறதுனால அது கிளாஸ் ஏ. 8 பிட்டு நெட்வொர்க் ஐடி. ஸோ நெட்வொர்க் ஐடியை நான் கையே வைக்க முடியாது. ஐ டோன்ட் ஹேவ் எனி கண்ட்ரோல் ஆன் இட். Right. Now I'm just going to be giving you a couple of IP addresses, okay? Sorry. Right. இப்போ நீங்கள் இந்த மூணுத்துக்கும் என்ன பண்ண போகிறீங்க? What is that you are going to be working as? For each and every IP address, what is the class it belongs to? First thing, right? Then, what is the network ID? The third one, what was the first host ID in that network? And what is the last host ID in that network? And finally, what is the broadcast ID in that network? You have to find these details of each and every IP address given to you.